Section 1, Dreamers versus Doers, defining the divide. All right, let's talk idealism and pragmatism. Two big words, one big headache. It's like trying to pick between pizza and tacos. Both delicious, both messy, and both capable of ruining a good shirt. Idealism? That's your head in the clouds stuff. Big dreams, grand visions, changing the world one inspirational quote at a time. Think Gandhi, think MLK, think that friend who swears they'll start a non-profit tomorrow. Pragmatism? That's keeping it real. Boots on the ground, sleeves rolled up, getting things done, even if it means compromising on the glitter cannons and unicorn confetti. Think engineers, think surgeons. Think that friend who actually did start a non-profit, even if their website is still under construction. So, which one is better? Trick question, folks. It's like asking if you need a left leg or a right leg to walk. Spoiler alert, you need both. Section 2, the power of two, why we need both. Here's the thing. Pure idealism without a dose of reality is like a Ferrari with no engine. Looks great in the garage, but try driving it to the grocery store and you'll be stuck. Conversely, pure pragmatism without a sprinkle of idealism, that's a reliable but boring minivan. It'll get you there, but don't expect any envious stares along the way. We need the dreamers to push boundaries, to imagine what's possible. They're the ones who dare to ask what if, and then spend their lives trying to make those what ifs a reality. But we also need the doers to take those dreams and turn them into concrete plans. They're the ones who figure out the how and the when and the how much will this cost. They're the ones who make sure the dream doesn't just stay a figment of someone's imagination. The key is balance, folks. A delicate dance between reaching for the stars and keeping your feet firmly planted on the ground. Section 3, Jobs and Lee, A Tale of Two Visions. Let's talk about two guys who, in their own ways, embodied this balance, Steve Jobs and Lee Kuan Yew. Jobs, the ultimate tech visionary, the man who believed he could put 1,000 songs in your pocket. Idealism was his middle name. He wanted to change the world, and damn he did. But let's not forget the pragmatism that fueled his success. He was a ruthless businessman, a demanding boss, a stickler for detail. He knew that to achieve his grand vision, he needed to be practical, even if it meant making some enemies along the way. Then there's Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of modern Singapore. This guy was pragmatism personified. He took a tiny island nation with no natural resources and transformed it into an economic powerhouse. His approach, laser focus on practical solutions, economic growth and social stability. Not exactly the stuff of poetry, but it worked. Now, I'm not saying Jobs was a saint or that Lee Kuan Yew was perfect, but they both understood that to achieve anything meaningful, you need a healthy dose of both idealism and pragmatism. Section 4, when dreams become nightmares, the perils of ungrounded ideals. But what happens when the balance tips too far towards idealism? Well, let's just say things can get messy, like really messy. Take Venezuela, for example. A country blessed with vast oil reserves, it seemed destined for prosperity, but decades of mismanagement and unrealistic economic policies driven by ideology rather than practicality have turned it into a cautionary tale. Hyperinflation, food shortages, political instability. It's a stark reminder that good intentions without a solid plan can have disastrous consequences. Then there's Zimbabwe, once the breadbasket of Africa, now grappling with economic turmoil and widespread poverty. Again, a classic case of idealism gone wrong. The government's land redistribution program, while well-intentioned, was poorly implemented, leading to a collapse in agricultural production and widespread economic hardship. The lesson here, unchecked idealism, like an unsupervised toddler with a Sharpie, can wreak havoc. We need to temper our lofty ambitions with a healthy dose of reality. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. Let's talk about some success stories, shall we? Remember the 2008 financial crisis? Yeah, not exactly a high point for the global economy, but amidst the chaos there were glimmers of hope. Countries like Iceland and South Korea, known for their pragmatic approach to governance and economic policy, weathered the storm better than many. They made tough choices, implemented practical reforms, and emerged from the crisis stronger than before. And let's not forget about the countless individuals who, through sheer grit and pragmatism, have overcome incredible obstacles to achieve success. The single mother working 2 jobs to provide for her children, the immigrant who built a thriving business from scratch, the student who worked their way through college while battling a debilitating illness. These are the everyday heroes who remind us that with hard work, determination, and a healthy dose of pragmatism, anything is possible. These stories, both big and small, highlight the power of pragmatism in action.
Speaking of immigrants, let's talk about how this whole pragmatism thing plays out in their lives. Because let's face it, leaving everything you know behind to start anew in a foreign land? That takes guts. And a whole lot of practicality. Immigrants are often forced to be pragmatic. They have to learn a new language, adapt to a new culture, and navigate a system that's often stacked against them. They don't have the luxury of dwelling on what-ifs or clinging to unrealistic expectations. They have to roll up their sleeves, get to work, and make the best of their situation. And you know what? This often gives them an edge. They're resourceful, resilient, and laser-focused on building a better future for themselves and their families. They're living proof that sometimes the most pragmatic path is also the most rewarding.
So, we've established that both idealism and pragmatism are important, but how do we actually go about balancing these two seemingly opposing forces? Enter pragmatic idealism. It's like the ultimate superhero duo, combining the best of both worlds. It's about having a big vision, but also having a realistic plan to achieve it. It's about being passionate about your goals, but also being willing to make compromises and adjustments along the way. Think of it like this. Idealism is the fuel and pragmatism is the engine. You need both to get where you want to go. It's about understanding that progress is rarely linear. There will be setbacks, detours, and moments where you want to chuck it all and move to a yurt in the Himalayas. But with a healthy dose of pragmatic idealism, you can navigate these challenges and keep moving forward.
Section 8. The Art of Compromise, Navigating the Tightrope. Here's the thing about pragmatic idealism. It's not always pretty. It requires compromise. It means letting go of some of your cherished ideals in service of the greater good. It means accepting that sometimes good enough is actually good enough. This can be tough, especially for us idealists. We like our world painted in black and white, our solutions simple and elegant. But the real world is messy and complex, and sometimes the best we can hope for is a slightly less terrible option. But that doesn't mean we have to abandon our principles altogether. It just means we need to be strategic, to pick our battles and to focus on making incremental progress rather than holding out for some utopian ideal. It's about finding that sweet spot between unwavering conviction and pragmatic flexibility. It's about being willing to bend without breaking, to adapt without losing sight of your core values.
Section 9, Beyond the Individual, Pragmatic Idealism on a Larger Scale. Now, this whole pragmatic idealism thing isn't just for individuals. It's equally important on a larger scale, for governments, organizations, and even entire societies. Think about the big challenges we face today: climate change, poverty, inequality. These are complex, systemic issues that require bold solutions. But they also require a healthy dose of pragmatism. We need leaders who can articulate a compelling vision for a better future, but who also have the skills and the will to implement practical, evidence-based policies to get us there. We need organizations that are driven by a clear sense of purpose, but who are also willing to adapt their strategies and approaches as needed. It's about striking a balance between ambitious goals and realistic expectations, between long-term vision and short-term action. It's about recognizing that progress is often messy and incremental, and that there will be setbacks and compromises along the way.
Section 10, Finding Your Balance, a Personal Journey. So, how do we actually cultivate this whole pragmatic idealism thing in our own lives? Well, it's a journey, folks. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. But here's a good place to start. Get to know yourself. What are your values? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are you willing to compromise on? And what are your non-negotiables? Once you have a better understanding of yourself, you can start setting goals that are both ambitious and achievable. Break down those big, hairy goals into smaller, more manageable steps. And don't be afraid to adjust your course as needed. Remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient, be persistent, and most importantly, be kind to yourself.
Section 11. The Future We Build. where pragmatism and idealism converge. Ultimately, the world needs both dreamers and doers. We need people who are willing to imagine a better future, and we need people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and make it happen. We need artists and activists, entrepreneurs and engineers, teachers and tech innovators. We need people who are passionate, compassionate, and committed to making a difference. And we need them to embrace both their idealism and their pragmatism, because when these two forces come together, when we allow ourselves to dream big while keeping our feet firmly planted on the ground, that's when real change happens. That's how we build a future that is not only imaginable, but achievable. So, let's get to work, shall we?